What's up, guys? It's Friday, March 17th, and this is Newswave. So we got more news about the new Sonic game coming out. It was originally labeled like Sonic 2017, and it was coming to all the different systems, including the Switch, the PS4, and Xbox One. And we actually got a name to it, and we saw some gameplay. This was over at South by Southwest, a gaming convention, media festival convention. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but the big thing was Sega shows up, shows off this new Sonic game called Sonic Forces is the name for it, and then they showed us some of Sonic Mania. And after seeing the gameplay, it looks pretty good, actually. It looks kind of like Sonic Generations if you played that at all, and that was actually a pretty good game overall, and I think this is going to be a good Sonic game looking at it. It definitely looks like it has the visual performance, and it has the speed. That's always been the very important part about Sonic games. It has to be fast. That's the whole point of Sonic, is to go very quickly and just do all kinds of crazy stuff with crazy things going on in the background, and that's what it looks like. So we did see a little bit. It was probably like 50 seconds of gameplay, but again, it gave us an idea of what to expect from the new Sonic Forces game, and then they kind of talked about Sonic Mania. So we got a little more of a look at Sonic Mania. We did find out, though, that it is being pushed. It's being delayed from the original spring release window. Now it's being pushed sometime into the summer. We don't know exactly when. We just know it's not coming out in the April or May time. It's going to be more like the June, July, somewhere in there for the summer, and they showed off a new zone for us as well. Now, the new zone was called Flying Battery Zone. It looked pretty cool. It looked like 2D Sonic. That's the one thing I like about Sonic Mania. We're getting two Sonic games, technically. We're getting Sonic Mania, and then we're getting Sonic Forces. So that's great that we're getting two, and I do like that they're releasing a game like Sonic Mania that is classic 2D Sonic. I mean, it's what we grew up on, at least I grew up on with Sonic back in the Genesis, and I do like to see something like this that has the visual appeal of Sonic CD, for example, but is new with all these new zones, so I'm very happy with that. I'm a little more interested in Sonic Forces to see how that looks and performs on something like the PS4, the Switch, the PC, any of those other consoles, and then see a little more about it, because it looks like they're trying to set up a story with it as well. I was pretty happy that they showed gameplay. We got a little bit of a teaser a few days ago, so we knew something was going down, and it's great that we now have a title of Sonic Forces and some gameplay to back it up that looks kind of like the Sonic Generation style. So I'm very happy about that. We're going to keep an eye on it and see if we see more at E3, maybe more of a story and some more solid gameplay, hopefully like an actual rundown of the gameplay for 10-15 minutes like they sometimes do at E3. And we got word that in Japan, they are ending the PS3 production line. Sony said this, that it's ending soon. And that actually is a little, well, it's a little sad, but because it's the end of an era, of course, but it also puts the PS3 sales figures for lifetime sales in Japan at 10 million units, which is actually really good for Japan. Of course, we know the PS3 came back in 2006, ran all the way up for about 11 years. That's a long time. Now, the PS2, of course, ran for what seems like forever, so the PS3 didn't quite make it to the PS2's life. But still, the PS3, I think, at this point we can call it was a success. It was a little hazy, a little murky in the beginning because it released at such a high price point of $600. And from there, it was hard to develop for compared to the 360 that was right next to it. And at that point, we were a little unsure if the PS3 was going to ever catch the 360. Eventually it did, and they ended right around the same amount of numbers. And in Japan, obviously, the PS3 took that over pretty quick. So overall, though, the PS3 did well. It's going to be coming to an end now. They said soon. I would think in the next couple months, and it should be done at that point. But hey, good for the PS3, good for Sony. It was great. Now they're just moving on to the PS4. And I'm actually a little surprised it hasn't ended sooner, but ending now, so there you go. Speaking of which, let's stick with sales for just a minute. We did get word now that Horizon Zero Dawn has passed 2.6 million units sold through, and that is a lot of units to sell through in its first 2 weeks on the market. Now, Sony has come out and said that it is a very quick-selling game, obviously. They put it in perspective, showing us that Uncharted 4, which was obviously a massive blockbuster hit for Sony and the PS4, sold 2.7 million in that same time. So Horizon Zero Dawn looks to be very similar to Uncharted 4's numbers. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes going forward, possibly into, say, April. But at least we know it did well. We were expecting it to do well. It's been hyped up very much so, and it's only on the PS4, so it has access to that 50 million user base. But overall, 2.6 million is very impressive. This is by far Guerrilla's biggest hit here. I mean, this is it for them. They did super well with this game. It plays well. It's a great game. It deserves the numbers it's getting. And for some reason, it always gets compared to Zelda, I guess because it came out around the same time. But that's more a preference in terms of opinion because they're both great games. And in an ideal world, you have both and you enjoy both. And in a surprising twist out of nowhere, Konami came out and said that they are updating Bomberman R for the Switch to fix a lot of the control input lag issues that people were talking about. I think this is surprising because we kind of figured that Konami was going to put Bomberman out and then slowly back away from it after getting their initial sales because it's Konami. But it's great to see that they are supporting this game. I mean, they said they're going to come out, they're going to do this major update, which actually just released today or last night, so you can actually go download it now, and it's supposed to fix the input lags. People were saying that they were moving around and their character always felt like they were like a step behind what they were doing with controls. You hit a button and the bomb wouldn't drop where you pressed it. It would drop a tile or two over. And of course, with Bomberman, where you're trying to run around frantically and drop bombs in the right places, that's going to mess you up. Well, this update's supposed to be fixing that offline and online, and they say they're going to basically work on all the mechanics of the game going forward, so expect more updates as we go, and make sure you're putting in any support tickets or anything that can help them, because they want you to criticize different parts of the game if it is an actual bug. So make sure you are letting them know, and you don't tell them the game's just amazing. Obviously, tell them parts that need work, because they are obviously interested in updating it and fixing anything. So let them know. It's great to see they're updating it, and I'm very curious to see how this game progresses going forward when it's all updated and finished. Speaking of surprising twists, for some reason, Capcom announced a game that seems perfect for the Switch, but decided to put it on every system but the Switch. Of course, I'm talking about the Disney Afternoon Collection. You may have seen this where they're putting Chip 'n Dale 1, 2, Tailspin, DuckTales 1 and 2. They're putting all of these, and Darkwing Duck, all in one game, whether it's a disc that you buy, it might just be digital, but a disc you buy or a digitally downloaded game, you have all of these games. They're not remastered, they're set up for 1080p visuals, so they look much better on a big screen. They have rewind function, which is great, so if you fall down a hole in a very difficult game like DuckTales, you can then rewind back right before you fell in. They're going to have museum support, so you unlock things like concept art, for example, which is awesome. And overall, it looks great, but the one odd thing is they have, for some reason, foregone the Switch release, at least up until this point. And of course, this has sent people into a craze right now. They are continuously posting on, for example, their Facebook, their Twitter, the actual video that shows at the trailer. People are commenting all over there. Why is this not coming to the Switch? This seems like this would work great for people who have the Switch. These are all NES titles. You realize that, right? These are all games that were originally on the Nintendo. Why would you not put it on Nintendo's console? But there has been no official word yet. They also have not said it's not coming to the Switch. They just haven't announced it for the Switch yet. There's a chance that it comes out a month later or something. I'm not really sure why it would be an issue, since these are all just games that are probably being emulated anyway, unless they just haven't built the emulator for, say, an ARM architecture compared to an x86 architecture these three would run on. So I'm not really sure what the deal is there. This game, Disney Afternoon Collection, looks good at face value. So if you have a PC and you want all of those features, it's worth getting. PS4 and Xbox One, although that crowd may not be as interested in this game as, say, a crowd like Nintendo, where these are all games that some of these people may have just grown up with. But overall, I think it's worth the $20, which, by the way, it is $19.99, so that's actually a pretty good value, and it's going to launch April 18th, so keep an eye out for that, and I'll let you know if anything gets announced for the Switch version as well. Just know right now it's coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and Steam. And this is actually pretty cool. So World of Goo came out, along with a couple other ones. World Release is coming out today, and all these games, of course, released on the eShop. Binding of Isaac is a physical release as well, which may be worth getting. You can look into that yourself, but overall, we had these quietly released on the eShop, and then somebody finds out very quickly that there's a feature that's still in World of Goo that uses the Joy-Cons in a way we might have not have thought. So this comes from Dan Koopman on Twitter. They have an early release copy of World of Goo, I assume for like press release or press uses and everything, where you review the game early, and they're using it, and they realize that the Joy-Con actually has like almost like a pointer function without the IR sensor on the front, which is really interesting. So it can detect it without the sensor bar or anything. It just works. And what you need to do is you put the Joy-Con down on like a flat table. It somehow syncs itself or just sets itself up. You pick it up, and all of a sudden you can use the pointer on the screen just like you would with a Wii Remote without the IR sensor on the front. So this is a very interesting idea here. There's no real sensor bar, obviously, so the technology here in that Joy-Con just becomes more and more intricate as we go along. This is something I don't think any of us thought it would be able to do, but obviously can. So this could mean other things like other Wii games could go to the system without needing that that sensor bar with that cable that always gets tangled up, by the way. What is that? And overall, it's very cool. The Joy-Cons just seem to just keep getting more and more complicated as we go along in terms of what's in there and what it can do. I'm not really sure how it's doing this. I'm sure somebody will look into it and figure it out, but just know that it has the IR pointer function without an IR on the front. So that's interesting. So you might have heard that Mass Effect is coming out on the 21st, so it's coming up this week. You also might have heard that the facial animations are being made fun of tremendously online right now. So it's not only like facial animations, also like walking patterns, walking animations, just some really weird stuff going on in this game. And it's a little worrying because this game has been in development, from what I assume, for a very long time. I mean, Mass Effect 3 came out what seems like forever ago, and here we are with this new game. Mass Effect Andromeda has been hyped up by obviously people who have been looking into it, but not by the creators like BioWare themselves. That's a little concerning, but we do get looks at it. People have the game right now because they are starting to review it, and it's getting out everywhere that the facial animations in general, when people are walking around, they're just not good, and they're laughable. The worst part is people are saying that the animations and facial animations from the older games are better than this one. So that is like really worrying. And from what I remember, they changed their game engines around and everything, so that might be why it looks different and not as good, because I believe the older ones ran on Unreal and this new one runs on like Frostbite. But it's still a little weird that the animations are just this bad for a big AAA, big budget game. All I know is I was really looking forward to Mass Effect Andromeda for a while now, and now I'm getting a little concerned that it's going to come out and it's just not going to be anything I was hoping it would be. I'm sure it'll still be fun, but man, some of the videos and stuff coming out right now look so distracting, and I don't think a patch would be able to fix this stuff. I think it is like the core issue with the engine they're using. So I hope the gameplay is fun, but now I'm a little disappointed, and I feel like I'm not going to be super happy with this game when I get it. And the last bit of news actually comes from Rock Band 4, surprisingly. They're actually adding Sterling Archer from the Archer series to the game. This came out yesterday. You can download it for your Xbox One, PS4 for Rock Band 4. And what you get to do is you get to have Sterling Archer on stage while you sing or play instruments to the very popular Top Gun Danger Zone song. And it makes sense because in Archer, he always says Danger Zone. It's great. If you haven't seen the show Archer, go watch it. It's very funny. They've had quite a few seasons now, but this is a cool idea. I just wish there was a little more to it, whether they use the voice actor for Archer. It looks like he's just lip syncing the song. It almost looks like it's a skin for a person on the stage. It's very funny to have him there. I just wish there was a little more to it. It's $1.99 for the song, and it comes with Archer, so I guess the price isn't bad, especially if you want Danger Zone. This is out now. It came out yesterday, so if you're a fan of the series or you just like Danger Zone, go buy it. That's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about today, whether it's Sonic Mania being delayed or Sonic Forces. Maybe you're very excited after seeing that gameplay. Maybe you want to share a few things about your PS3 since it is getting discontinued in Japan now. Maybe you're impressed by the Switch pointer, or you're just excited for your Bomberman getting updated, or Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Let me know what you guys think down below. I will see you on Monday.